Hey guys, Shadowhunt005 back with another Pokemon video. I thought it would be the last opportunity to show what I got in my pre-release. So if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and we'll get into what I picked. And tomorrow's video will be showing off the openings from these 3 packs. So don't forget to keep an eye on tomorrow's video as well. So starting off, I will be showing off the promo, which I will be completely honest, I did not get the Manectric. I actually traded for this. The one I got was the Celesteal. As you may remember from my promo video, which I will leave a link down below, I did not want to get the Celesteal, I wanted to get the Manectric, but unfortunately I didn't. Now how I usually do these pre-release videos is I show off the Pokemon that I used, and then the trainers that I used. But this time I'm actually going to do the reverse. I'm going to show you what trainers I used. So in this deck I had 6 item cards. I had Pokénav. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal a Pokemon or energy you find there and put it into your hand. Put the other cards back in any order. This card I found very good as, you know, searching for any Pokemon or an energy card. Always handy, always helpful. Unfortunately, downsides, it is only the top 3 cards. But it also means that you know what the next 2 cards are if you find a Pokemon or energy, or 3 cards if you don't. Next, I used the Switch, and I must admit, this Switch is pretty nice art-wise in comparison to other sets. I know that in the evolutions, I like the old style, it was a bit nostalgic, but this one, I really do like that artwork. The last 4 cards that I have are all types of Pokeballs. I had Timer Ball, Nest Ball, and Great Ball. Generally speaking, people know what those do, so I'm not going to go through those. But this is the new ball that we had, the Lure Ball. Now, I found this interesting. Do I think it's good? Not particularly. Flip 3 coins for each heads. Put an evolution Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. Yeah, it is a good card, but when I play, I prefer not to go with the flip coin ones. It can be annoying trying to get those heads, especially one reason why I very rarely use Timer Ball. What with the fact you need 2 heads to get the evolutions out. And that's out of the deck, whereas this is out of the discard. I don't want my evolutions in the discard. Moving on, we'll go into the supporters. Some of them are older sets, like How. Although the new artwork for it is pretty cool. Fishman, they brought that back into rotation, so that's good. Put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile to hand. Now I know I said with the Lure Ball, I don't like pulling things from the discard. I don't like pulling Pokemon from the discard. Energies, brilliant. Brilliant pulling from the discard, putting them back in the hand, and of course, you don't need to flip for them. One of the new cards we got, or at least is returning as, I don't know whether it's from a very old set. Bear in mind, my knowledge is base set, the first few sets, and then after that, it's from Breakpoint onwards that I know. So apologies if I don't know many of these cards in between, and there were a lot in between. Bill's maintenance, shuffle a card from your hand into your deck. If you do, draw 3 cards. That's pretty good, you know. Just pick a card that I don't really want in my hand, put it in the deck, draw 3. Another one, now I do know that this was from an older set, and I do know that there is a word change, or a wording change on this one. So, card reads, draw 3 cards, then discard a card from your hand. Pretty standard, pretty nice. Now, this next part was what was added to the card. If you have no cards in your deck, you can't play this card. Now, you would think pretty common sense. If you don't have cards in the deck, how can you play this card to draw 3? But you would still be allowed to play this card, and there are a few advantages to that rule set. For instance, I know with certain cards, they don't have that text. You can still play them even if they have no effect. You know they're not going to do anything, whether it's because your opponent is blocking or something like that. And the reason being is sometimes you just want to get your hand down. There are certain cards which do more damage if you have, say, 4 cards in your hand. So to stop this, that's what the text does. You know, say you've got 5 cards in your hand, you got TV Reporter, you haven't used your supporter this turn, and you got something that does 80 more damage if it's 4 cards in your hand. Play TV Reporter. Doesn't do anything, but now you've got 4 cards, you're doing the extra damage. Unfortunately, now you can't with that text, so I can see why they've added that. Next, we have Tate and Liz. I must admit, I love this card. Yes, it's basically a Shauna with the first effect, shuffle your hand into your deck, then draw 5 cards. Given the fact that there are going to be only a few cards that let you reshuffle and redraw a hand, you could say that you might as well use Cynthia, which allows you to draw 6. Again, one of my favorite supporters at the moment. But this one has a slight advantage to a degree against Cynthia in the fact that the second effect lets you switch out your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, which, in my personal opinion, having 2 effects on this does put it on par with Cynthia, if not a bit better, depending on the situation. The second from last supporter that I have is the Apricorn Maker. Search your deck for up to 2 item cards that have the word ball in their name, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. So, as we've already seen, I used 4 ball type cards. Great Ball, Timer Ball, Basic Ball, and Lure Ball. Of course, I'm going to put Apricorn Maker in there so that I can get those cards much easier and get them in my hand. And the final supporter that I used in this deck was Steven's Resolve. So this card reads, search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Your turn ends. Now, I do think this card is good in the fact that any 3 cards you want from your deck, you can get straight away. Downside, it does end the turn. But there is another card in this deck which actually negates that second effect. So we'll pop that on the side and you'll see later on which I'm talking about. So moving on to Pokemon. Pokemon-wise, I ran an Electric Steel deck. And yes, Celesteela, you'd be thinking, well, why did you not have it when you're running a Electric Steel deck? Bear in mind, I didn't trade till the end, so I would have still been using Celesteela. Why I didn't put it in this deck was basically the attack. If you know Celesteela, it's a 4 or 5 energy cost, 1 being a metal energy, does 160 damage, and the effect is if you have 6 prize cards and your opponent has 6 prize cards, it only requires 1 metal energy to do the attack. We're in pre-release. Pre-release, you only have 4 prize cards each. No way was I going to find Celesteela any good. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the promo Manectric because I didn't have it at the time. As I said, I didn't trade till the end. But what I do have, I think, makes up for it. So starting off, I had 2 Chinchous. Not really any good. They didn't do much. The Spark is probably the best attack on it, which does 10 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Other than that, you know, I used it for the Lantern, which, coming up next, I ran 2 of these, and the effect was, and bear in mind I was using it mainly out on the bench as the effect, When one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move a basic energy card from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. So I'd have a Pokemon up front, taking the brunt of the damage, doing an attack, and when it got knocked out, move the energy onto this card. And bear in mind, it's not just a lightning energy. You can't use this just to get a lightning energy on it. You can use it to get any energy on. As I said, running a steel deck, I generally would have steel energy moved onto this. Then it goes on to lightning strike. You may discard all lightning energies from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 70 more damage. Now, what's great about this attack is, yes, it costs 2 lightning, 1 colorless. That colorless, as I said, would be the steel that I moved onto this Pokemon from the previous active one. All I had to do was discard 2 lightning energy, and yes, it did take 2 turns to get that back, although a little manipulation with the Tate and Liz and the Switch did help me out with some of the games where I was able to switch this back onto the bench and bring something else up that was able to get more energy onto this. Moving on, the Electrike, not really much to say about this. I ran 2 of these. Probably the best thing I'd say about it is the artwork. Looks nice, but Zap Kick, 1 energy, 20 damage, Snow K card, nothing special. The Evolution, the Manectric, is something else entirely on the other hand. Yeah, it's got nice artwork. As I said, I couldn't use the promo, but I still had another one in reserve. I only ran 1 of these because I only got 1. But with the Electric start, if you go second, and if this Pokemon is in your hand when you are setting up, you can play it on the active or the bench. Reminds me very much of Steam Siege's Gale Wing Talonflame, although that can only go in the active. As I said, this can go as the active or on the bench. You draw 4 of these first turn, or you draw 4 of these while set up. You got a good setup. Of course, that's the ideal. Well, that I don't even think that'd be ideal. But, you know, you can do it, is the point that I'm trying to make. You wouldn't want to, but certainly getting 1 or 2 of these in your starting hand would be absolutely perfect in an electric deck, especially with the attack. Double Charge does 40 damage, 1 energy cost. It's okay. You may attach 2 basic energy cards from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. That changes it from an okay card to a great card. And what makes it even better? Free retreat. With my Lantern on the bench, I can double charge, get 2 of those lightning energies straight onto my Lantern. And of course, when Manectric gets knocked out, obviously by an attack, energy grounding goes off, and that 3rd lightning energy goes on there. Generally speaking, as I said, I would already have a steel energy on this, or I would have even chosen a steel energy from the double charge put onto Lantern. And this was the card I was referring to with the Tate and Liz and the Switch. Managed to get my Lantern up, do the 140 damage, switch it out with the Switch or Liz and Tate into Manectric, double charge, put the energy back on Lantern, and switch this back out. So yeah, it was a very good strategy. I plan on building an electric deck with the Manectric, probably with the Lantern as well, and the Zero Aura. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. I plan on building a deck on around those 3. Maybe even the Magnezone that does the electric pile on, but probably not. So moving on to the steel types, probably knew this was coming. I ran Beldum, Metang, Metagross. So Beldum, not really much about this. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, its retreat cost is 1 energy less for each Beldum on the bench. With 2 energy retreat cost, I could, if I had the second one down, I could make that 1. I didn't really use Beldum much. Metang, I probably used it once or twice, flipped 2 coins, the attack does 20 more damage for each heads. Again, not really a fan of those flip a coin effects. So, as I said, I didn't use it much. The Metagross, however, now this was basically the boss card, if you have a boss card, for my deck. Why? 1 energy cost to do 60 damage, and during your next turn, Meteor Mash does an extra 60 more damage before applying weakness and resistance. As I said, 1 cost. Generally, in the metal decks that I've seen in the past, they require a lot more than 1 energy cost. Yes, they do a higher amount of damage, but I would rather a faster metal deck than a heavy hitting metal deck. Plus, as I said, it's not that bad when you do 60 more damage on the next turn. And also the ability. As long as this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your turn does not end when you play Steven's Resolve. This is a great combo like the Cynthia and Garchomp from the Max Strike theme deck. And I ran 2 of these Metagross, so it was a higher chance that I was going to have one of these in the active when Steven was out. Now, I did also run some Disruption in this deck. Gulpin, basically putting things to sleep. You could also poison it, but as I didn't run any Psychic Energy, I only ran Metal and Lightning. I was mainly using this for the Yawn to put them to sleep, or I was evolving it to Swalot and using the Amnesia. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. That Pokemon can't use the attack during the opponent's next turn. So when it comes to that Amnesia, all 3 of my most used cards, Lantern, Metagross, and Manectric, are more or less useless without switching them around, as they only have 1 attack. And that's generally what I saw from most of the heavy hitting Pokemon in this set, in this pre-release. They only have 1 attack. I know another one which I was expecting to go up against, which was why I put Swalot in the first place, was the Marshtomp. Again, only 1 attack. Well, when Amnesia comes into play, they can't even do that. Manectric, with that free retreat cost, yeah, it was easy to pull out of that. As I said, Taint and Liz or Switch, easy to pull out of that. I managed to do it a couple of times. However, because of that, it was more of a drawn game than a win for me. And the final card, and one which you probably wouldn't have expected in this, was Love Disc. Why was this card in here? Even game. Search your deck for a number of basic Pokemon up to the number of your opponent's bench Pokemon and put those Pokemon onto the bench. Then shuffle your deck. That helped me out quite a couple of times, especially early game. I get Love Disc, they've got a bench of 3. Okay, even game, and I can now put 3 Pokemon onto my bench. As I said, it helped me out once or twice. Hey guys, thanks for watching part 1 of the pre-release video. I will have part 2 coming up in a couple of hours, so keep an eye out for that video. And if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like. And if you're new, then consider subscribing. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.